most important stop on the trip was just around the corner. After decades of being bitter enemies, the Blue Angels were about to make history by being the first United States flight team to ever perform over the skies of Moscow. Russia, the evil empire. Ever since the end of World War II, the Soviet Union has loomed dark over the horizon. Rolling its tanks and missiles through the streets, communism stood in bold opposition to the West. The fate of the world hung in the balance between two superpowers, and the Cold War fostered tension and mutual distrust. But in the early 90s, the walls began to come down. The Cold War was ending, and fear slowly turned to hope between our two nations. In what might have signaled the end just a few years before, the Blue Angels flew their jets to Moscow in what they hoped would spark the beginning of a new friendship for many years to come.
I'm most excited about Moscow because I've never seen anything like that, and it's going to be very historic for us to go there. So I'm pretty fired up about that.
I never thought for once that I would ever be in a military jet aircraft flying in Moscow, unless something bad was happening.
You spend your whole life training for an enemy, and now the notion to go fly in downtown Moscow and fly with, you know, I'm not going to say the enemy, but the opposition is a pretty unique concept in itself.
We always thought of the Soviet Union as the evil empire, and that's who we've trained to fight against for so long. And here, in less than a year and a half, now we're flying air shows over there, and they're our newfound friends. That's pretty interesting. It takes a lot of getting used to that, thinking that way.
During their approach to Russia, the Blue Angels were intercepted by Russian fighters who took to their wing in a gesture of friendship and escorted them into Moscow.
Being a Navy pilot, I never thought I'd ever see the day that I'd be in Moscow, much less being escorted in Russian territory by none of their Sukhois and MiGs.
Welcome to Russia, Blue Angels!
The Blues were welcomed to Kubinka Air Force Base to the strains of the national anthem. Ironically, the Blues were parked on the very same tarmac that during the Cold War was home to one of Russia's biggest bomber forces aimed at Western targets.
This is the first ever visit of a demonstration team to Russia. It means that good traditions are coming back to us. The traditions of doing our jobs together for the sake of common goals. The goals that were first marked during the years of World War II. Nothing can contribute more to improving relations between the countries than human contact.
All politics disappeared as the Blues and the Russian pilots got a chance to meet one-on-one and talk shop. A common love of flying was the catalyst that brought the two together and strengthened their ties of friendship.
I can see Blue Angels in Russia. It's very good.
I'll never forget when we get out of the planes in Moscow and just mobbed by all the children. That was really kind of unexpected. I think that'll always stand out in my mind.
Kids are kids anywhere in the world, you know, and they're wonderful.
The highlight of the team's stay in Russia came when the Blue Angels and the Russian pilots participated in a series of exchange flights. For the first time ever, Blue Angel pilots got to fly in Russian aircraft, and Russian pilots got to fly in American aircraft.
We had a couple two-seat F-18s over there, and they had two-seat Su-27s and MiG-31s, and an attack plane they call the Frogfoot. They had all these two-seaters. We were able to take their demo pilots. They got to fly in the backseat of our airplanes, and then they took us in our respective airplanes. So all of us on the team with the numbers on our uniforms got to go flying.
Inside? Have I ever ridden a MiG before? No. Am I excited? Yes.
An unbelievable experience. I mean, we've all dreamed of actually encountering those guys in the sky, and probably not on a friendly basis. So to actually get in the airplane and see what it would do was awesome.
For years, the secrets of the Soviets' top aircraft had escaped our pilots. The mere sighting of a Soviet MiG was cause enough for great excitement, and now after all this time, the Blue Angels were about to do what no one else had done before: strap into a Russian jet and take to the skies over Moscow. Well, this was it. Standing on a tarmac just a few miles from Moscow, the Blue Angels would get the chance to make history. Sworn enemies just a few years before, the walls between them were coming down. A pilot is a pilot, and if there's one thing a pilot loves to do, it's fly, especially in a jet they never thought they would.
Kind of impressive just from the mere fact that you never thought you'd ever be that close to one, let alone riding in one. Before we went up to fly, they basically established two forms of communication. I'm the pilot, or you're the pilot.
There are slot pilots taking me flying. The general invited me to go.
In what?
And we're gonna do section acro and a slot and all the weight positions. That's what they're gonna show me. No, Su-27.
The people of our country and the people of Russia are getting an opportunity to meet and get together. And these contacts, like the contact with the Blue Angels and the Russian demonstration teams, are beginning to show how we can get together on a personal level.
I flew my counterpart, who was the team leader of the Russian team, and he flew me. So we got to see the performance of each other's airplanes. And of course, as an aviator, there's always that competitiveness, you know, and you wonder, I wonder what this guy's going to be like, you know, and what am I going to show him? We got to show each other a little bit of stuff. It was basically, you fly, I fly, and it worked out just fine.
Ready, Vladimir? High pilot, okay, high pilot.
How did you like it? Thank you. So unbelievable! Unbelievable! Talk about a dream come true.
My pilot right here. Probably the finest pilot in Russia, I would think. Right here.
Good exchange in I fly, you fly. Pull the airplane until it starts to fall and go, oh, no.
I'm honored to fly with this pilot because I consider him one of the best in the world. It was a pleasure flying with him.
And a pleasure flying with you, Vladimir. He is very smooth. I can see why he is the leader as well.
A+. It's great. Very similar to F-18. I like it. Oh, gorgeous, maneuverable, fast, exceptional.
No problem.
No problem for any maneuver.
No problem.
No problem.
How did I do?
Good.
Good?
Pilot. Hey, he's a good pilot, too. Yeah. Very good. Very good.
Man, that was awesome. I don't know what to say. It was a blast.
I just can't believe I'm here. I mean, in Russia, you know, maybe 2 years ago, this would have been unthinkable. So it's beautiful. It's wonderful. It's just peace is breaking out, and that's really gratifying.
To see American pilots flying in Russian jets and Russian pilots flying in American jets is something that probably none of us would have imagined in our lifetimes.
Everything that I have ever done is been to train against the Soviets. All of their weapon systems, all their missile systems, aircraft, even their ships. And then I'm sitting there eating across the table from, used to be a Soviet pilot, now a Russian pilot. And he's just a plain old guy just like I am. And he's probably thinking the same thing I'm thinking.
They're just so hungry for democracy and freedom and want to build their societies, and they would just sit there and listen to anything you had to say.
The analogy was it was a nice looking house, but there wasn't much furniture inside. But what they do have is a lot of pride. May not have anything that's material, but they have a lot of pride in what they do.
And we want to give them hope. They need to stick with it. Democracy doesn't come overnight.
The Blues left Russia with a new understanding of the people and the country that they had spent most of their adult lives learning how to fight. Old stereotypes had been broken down and replaced with memories and friendships that would last the rest of their lives.